Welcome back to Toffee Booze, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing the Start 11 show for the visit of Manchester City to Goodison Park on Saturday. Obviously, another tough game, playing another team that are vying for Champions League football, but no doubt we'll give it our all and fingers crossed come away with a decent result against Manchester City. But we don't have the best of records against them, home or away, for that matter of fact. But might as well get straight into it, and we'll start in goal. And as I say every week, it's probably the easiest one to predict, and it's Jordan Pickford in goal. He had a relatively quiet day against Nottingham Forest, a few decent saves here and there, kept us cool when it mattered, in my opinion. A few decent saves from the likes of Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi, for example, but nothing too extravagant to do. But I think Pickford is just showing now why he is such a calm, cool, collected goalkeeper, and shows why he's England number one. I say it every single week, but it's probably the first name on the team sheet and the easiest one for David Moyes to pick. So Jordan Pickford in goal. So moving into the back four now, and again it probably is seeming a little bit repetitive this one, but we'll start with right back, and it's Jake O'Brien. And again, I thought he had a decent game against Nottingham Forest. He dealt with Callum Hudson-Odoi very well last weekend. He's got the small task of dealing with the likes of Savinho or Omar Marmoush, who are both tricky customers on Manchester City's wings. So again, fingers crossed he can put in a good performance and deal with them too. But as I said before, I think last weekend he showed that he can go toe to toe with some top wingers. So every credit to him. As I've said many a time in these videos, he's massively turned the corner under David Moyes and looks really assured now. So long may it continue. But moving into the two centre halves now, obviously it's going to be Branthwaite and Tarkowski as the partnership of centre halves. Branthwaite, I'll start with him. He was my man of the match against Nottingham Forest. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. But you don't need to listen to me. You can look at the stats as well. 9 out of 9 aerial duels, 100% completion in those. The fact that he's doing that against a striker like Chris Wood, for example, it just shows that the nature of him, how good of a centre half he actually is. But as I said earlier, with the likes of Savinho, Marmoush, James McAtee, De Bruyne, City have got a very, very good and a very formidable forward line. So we're going to need him on top form once again. And then moving to his partner, James Tarkowski, same again, we're going to need him on top form. No Erling Haaland is definitely a bonus for the pair of them. So fingers crossed, they can use that to their advantage and probably dominate Manchester City's attack. But as I said before, Manchester City aren't short of any quality in that attack. So yeah, they've got the work cut out, but fingers crossed they can put in a good performance, and we're going to need them on top form. But moving to left back now, I think Vitaly Mykolenko will keep his place. He's been in and out of the team recently with a few injuries here and there, but I think he's getting back to that full fitness that we saw before the international break, before he went to Ukraine and picked up that injury. But he's showing time and time again now that he can deal with elite wingers. You look at how he played Mohamed Salah out of the game in the Merseyside derby at Anfield. He showed time and time against like Bukayo Saka, for example. He's shown that he can go toe to toe with these very good wingers. So long may it continue. I'm hoping he can put in another good performance. But as I said, with the likes of Jake O'Brien and Tarkowski and Branthwaite, for example, City aren't short of quality up there. So he's going to have his work cut out, but I have no doubt in my mind that he can put in a decent performance and try and keep Manchester City out. But that completes the back four. We'll move into the midfield three now, and the first one on that team sheet is going to be James Garner, in my opinion. He had a relatively quiet game against Nottingham Forest, but we're going to need him to combat Manchester City's midfield. I say it time and time again, really, with James Garner, but I think he does the simple stuff very, very well. There is games where he doesn't get much of the ball, but he's breaking up the play very nicely. Little passes, little pieces of interplay here and there. He does the simple things well, in my opinion. So. His partner, obviously, is going to be Idrissa Gana Gueye. Same again, really. We're going to massively need him to combat City's midfield. He's going to have a tough time against Kevin De Bruyne if Kevin De Bruyne is up for it. We saw last weekend in their 5-2 victory over Crystal Palace that De Bruyne still has that little bit of quality in him before he leaves Manchester City in the summer. So as I said before with James Garner, Idrissa Gana Gueye is going to have his work cut out, but against Nottingham Forest, he was absolutely fantastic in my opinion. The fans voted him as man of the match on the club's official channel, so that just shows how good of a game he actually had, Idrissa Gana Gueye. But the next man I'm going to talk about was the match winner last time out and playing further forward of the midfield three. It's Abdoulaye Doucouré. I think he's going to keep his place. Listen, Abdoulaye Doucouré is a match winner. We've seen it so many times where he just scores crucial goals at crucial times. I said it in my review of Nottingham Forest. I thought he had a quiet game. I don't think he had the best of games. I still gave him a 7 out of 10 just purely for that 94th minute winner. But I do think he is quite good for some structure. Comparing him to the likes of Carlos Alcaraz, for example, I think Alcaraz is better when he comes on. He can make more of an impact when, say, Manchester City's midfield tires a little bit. I think that the energy that Carlos Alcaraz will bring to the game will be vital in those periods of the game rather than him starting from the start, which is why I think Abdoulaye Doucouré will start this one. As I said before, the structure thing is a big thing for David Moyes, setting a press, being energetic in that midfield. Not to say that Carlos Alcaraz isn't energetic, but I think it's a different kind of energy which they both exert on the team. So for me, I think Abdoulaye Doucouré will probably start this game purely for a bit of structure and a little bit more energy in terms of defensive output rather than attacking output against Manchester City's obviously formidable midfield of the likes of Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Nico Gonzalez, this ilk of player. I think Abdoulaye Doucouré is probably better suited to start the game and then bringing Carlos Alcaraz on maybe later on towards the 50th, 60th minute if it is going our way. But that completes the midfield three. We'll go into the front three now and we'll start on the right-hand side. I think this one will be Iliman and Jai. He's getting back to his full fitness now, in my opinion. We saw in the Merseyside derby where he came on for 20, 30 minutes or so. He had strapping on his knee. He didn't look fully fit. He didn't look fully confident in his ability to go past people, but I think he's put that behind him now. In recent weeks, he's shown that he is the top player that we've relied on for so long. It's just that little sparks of creativity, those little moments where he can drop a shoulder, he can beat a man, and he can get out of a really difficult situation when no other player in this Everton team can do so. So yeah, I think Iliman and Jai will start on the right hand side. A lot of you will probably be raising eyebrows as to why I've put him on the right hand side. We'll go on to that now. So on the left hand side, I think Dwight McNeil will get his first start of the 2025 campaign. Obviously, he started many a game in 2024, but this calendar year it would be his first start with him being out injured for a very long period of time. David Moyes in his press conference today did actually confirm that he is ready for more minutes. So hopefully we can see sort of 60 minutes from him now, just to slowly build it up. Obviously, we haven't got loads to play for in the league anymore, with us pretty much mathematically being safe. But I think now it's time to utilise these last few games of the season just to make sure players are getting to full fitness. And obviously, this is a perfect opportunity for Dwight McNeil, in my opinion. Maybe give the likes of Jack Harrison a little bit of a rest, because I think Jack Harrison's been playing relentlessly for the last 6 or 7 weeks with no one really as cover behind him. So it'll give Jack Harrison a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a spell out the team. And obviously we know how creative Dwight McNeil is. You only need to look at his assist from Saturday with that ball into Abdoulaye Doucouré to see his creativity. So fingers crossed we can utilise that. But also I think it's a very good chance for him to have a little bit of an outing, maybe get 60 minutes under his belt just to try and get that little bit more match sharpness going into obviously the end of this season and then looking at pre-season. But moving into the number 9 now, a lot of people will probably expect a little bit of a different scenario here. I'm going to put Beto back into the side. Listen, it's no slight on Armando Broja, because I thought he had an okay game against Nottingham Forest. He's feeding on scraps, playing as Everton's number 9 in a system where we're playing massively counter-attacking, and you kind of have to create your own chances. You're not going to look the best, and I don't think Broja... I don't think he had the worst game in the world, but I don't think the system and the way we were set up massively helped him. He had to fight on scraps and create his own chances. But that being said, when Beto did come onto the pitch, I did feel like we looked a little bit more dangerous. I think we looked our most dangerous with Alcaraz and Beto on the pitch. But Beto's a little bit different in terms of energy. I think he just offers a completely different dynamic that the defenders don't even know what he's doing, because he himself doesn't know what he's doing. I think that element of surprise, that element of jeopardy that Beto creates, I think is why he's had a decent spell in the team, obviously in the absence of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So fingers crossed he can find that purple patch that he had in February once again and maybe kickstart that for the rest of the season. But I do think it will be Beto coming back in for Armando Broja for the visit of Manchester City on Saturday. So that rounds up the starting 11. I'll just go through it one more time. So it's Jordan Pickford in goal, Jake O'Brien at right back, James Tarkowski and Jared Branthwaite as your two centre-halves, and Vitaly Mykolenko at left back. James Garner, Idrissa Gana Gueye and Abdoulaye Doucouré in midfield, Iliman and Jai off the right-hand side, Dwight McNeil off the left-hand side, and Beto coming back into the side as our number 9. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about this starting 11. Do you think David Moyes is going to try anything else? Do you think maybe the likes of Alcaraz will start, or Timmy Rabunin, for example? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. But that is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll speak to you soon.